Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us quantum courage expert Marjah Simon and confidence transformation coach JJ Villar talking about their latest book. Guys, welcome to the program.
Thank you
so much.
I'm excited to be here.
This is
Hey,
amazing.
I'm excited to talk with you as well because I literally, I don't say this often, so I speak the truth because rarely when I interview people, I don't get their book ahead of time and then I don't read it, but I literally last night finished reading the book cover to cover, over the last week or so, but I've literally read your book. It is spectacular. I love it. It's called Next Life, Next Starting Made Simple. So I'm excited to just kind of see what generated this concept in your mind. So get us started with you guys. What inspired you to write the book?
Well, JJ is one of my best friends and my bestie, and we have both coached thousands of people into transforming their lives and helped so many people to go from wherever they are to a next level and to their next life next. And we were talking one day and realized that with everyone we've helped, neither one of us was able to help our mothers. And it was a source of pain for both of us. The women that we love that gave us life, we couldn't give them their next life. They couldn't access what we were teaching, what we were sharing, what we had learned. And we said, what if our mothers had had access to the 7 figures in personal development and education that we instilled in ourselves? How different would their lives have been? And then we took it to another level. How would they have been able to access this on their own? What form could it have been in? And from that conversation, we decided to take the personal development, all of the things that we've learned, the things that have helped us to elevate our life, and make it accessible and fun and colorful and playful and gamify and connected for people like our mothers.
JJ, I want to get your thoughts. It made me think of something real quick there, Marjah, when you said your mothers. It's all about that perspective and mindset, isn't it? Because when you take a sales training course and they say, if you can just explain the benefits like you would to your family, well, you're going to explain it a little bit differently with a little bit more empathy, maybe, than just Joe off the street. So I love the fact that you guys started with that thought in mind, that avatar in mind of your mothers.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I would agree with Marjah, because when we really just talked about our similarities and outside of our friendship, when we started looking at our history, realizing that the one person that we really both wanted to help, we could not reach. And like she said, it was our moms. But then we took it a step further also and realized, why is it that we've been able to create so much success in such a short amount of time? We go to these personal development events, we read all these books, listen to these podcasts, and yet we're no different than anybody else, but we are able to apply them and implement them in such a way that has created a level of success for us. And then we came to understand that when you're creating that next step to get out of where you're at to where you want to be, it's like you don't necessarily know what's that next step. Like, there is an next step, but you don't know what's that first next step that you got to take. And most people don't know how to discern it and how to take action on it. And so we said, okay, well, why don't we take all of the knowledge that we know that has changed our life and take the information that we've applied on how we discern information and how we've actually been able to implement it into our lives to create transformation in a rapid pace and simplify it for somebody who has never come across this, who doesn't even know that this is out there or it's even possible, so that when they come across this one random book in this one random place, they happen to look at it, see all the colorful, fun, playful pictures, and actually realize that it's a key, a legend, a map to a new life.
Yes.
It's been said that nothing ever happens in the comfort zone. And I think that's what you guys are talking about. It's like, okay, you're here in this life. If you want that next life of the next transformation and making your life better, you need to step out of that comfort zone, and you need to know what that looks like, and you need to know what all the steps are, but don't get overwhelmed with all of them. Take that next right step now. So talk a little bit about the concept of quantum courage that you talk about in the book, and how does that play a role in really breaking free from those old painful patterns that you have in your current life?
So one of the things that I want to point out is that they're already in discomfort. And so while
Mhm.
it may seem like the comfort zone, in that comfort zone, there's the pain and the suffering of whatever is not wanted in a particular area or areas of their life. And so it's not about necessarily throwing out your whole life, but where do you want to level up? What do you want to change? Or you may want to throw out your whole life and start over. I've done that as
Yeah.
well. And so has JJ. And so it's taking yourself out of the comfort of being in pain, taking yourself out of the comfort of the familiarity of the suffering that has become the norm and the flavor, and really stepping into a different type of discomfort, a discomfort that says, hey, there is more, there's an alternative life, and I get to choose that. And where quantum courage comes in is I've studied different aspects of quantum science, and I realized that all of the things that JJ and I have done, and many of our peers, it's based in science,
Hmm.
and it's really, really an incredible thing when we can tap into the fact that these are laws of the universe. And when we're using them with intentionality, we get the results we're looking for. When we're using them haphazardly or mindlessly, or not even realizing they existed, so we're misusing them, then we get results we don't want. But the thing that is really important to understand is we are all always using the laws of the universe. There is no opt out. And so either you're using them to our advantage or we're using them to our disadvantage. And so quantum courage is about looking, how do I use it to my advantage? And how do I step into the courage, through the fear, into the courage to do the things that are different than I'm used to doing now?
So have you ever heard of that concept, you don't know what you don't know? And
Yes.
I think there's a really technical psychological term for that, but many people have heard that. You just don't know what you don't know. And what you
Mhm.
just said there was, these things are happening anyway. These frameworks are happening anyway. You just don't know they're happening, but when you can recognize them and then use them for your advantage, that really, really takes you to the next level. So JJ, what are some of those frameworks that you guys talk about in the book, and that people need to start to recognize? Because just hearing it doesn't flip the switch. You got to recognize it and then start putting in the work.
One of the things that we really pride ourselves on is the ability to be brave. And, our book, our first volume, as we're going to come out with many variations of this book to just help people navigate from beginning to end. But really taking that first step of being brave. And we used it as an acronym so that we can really describe a framework that's it's simple to follow. The B for us, it's really understanding how to burn your boats. And it's easier said than done. But what does that actually mean to most people? It's really looking around and getting rid of or separating yourself from the things that no longer serve you in that moment in time so that you can new life. And a lot of people are so zoned into that comfort zone that they're afraid of the unfamiliarity of what's coming and what's
Mhm.
possible. And so that's the first step. The next one for us, the R in that brave, is resolve obstacles. It's knowing how to navigate through those challenges. Like Marjah said, it's understanding that things are happening anyway. We get to choose whether or not we're going to acknowledge them, we're going to adapt, and we're going to leverage them to our benefit, or it's going to use us. The universe is going to move on us, or we're going to move with and for the universe. And so we've got to make those choices. But unless we get rid of the things that don't serve us and we take those actions to resolve our own obstacles, our own challenges, and understand what works for us and what doesn't, we're kind of dead in the water. The A for us is acquiring allies. Marjah and I, we didn't do this alone. We did not do this alone. We have had guardian angels our entire life from birth to now. And, you hear often that power's proximity. And I would love to add to that because I don't believe that that's fully in context the truth. It's not complete. Power is not proximity. Excuse me, proximity is not power. Leveraging the proximity creates
Yeah.
the power. And so when you acquire these allies, it's great to collect friends and information and contacts, but until you have resolved your own obstacles, burned your boats, and been able to step into your greatness to ask for help, you won't be able to use those allies. For us, the V is vanquishing limitations. It's truly looking at that mirror that nobody really wants to look at and ask the difficult questions and be able to say, not another moment, not another day, not another hour. I will not stand for this because I know that something is possible. And until you make those declarations, which is in our book, and teaching you what is an actual declaration, it's not making a choice, but a decision. If you make a choice, you still have a choice to opt out. When you make a decision, that's a resolve. And then finally, the E of our framework is really endure and excel. We're going to go through hard times one way or another. And everything in life is hard. You just have to choose your hard. Is it harder to not have the things you want, or is it harder to work for the things that you want? And at that point in time, once you make those decisions, you are going to excel. But sometimes people don't know how to excel. And this is where, when you understand what you know, like you said, we don't know what we don't know, but we also only know what we know. So in that, we have to actually use our allies to be able to excel. Therefore, we created that framework of how to be brave.
Yes.
One of the, what you just said there should take about a week and a half to unpack. But one of the things that jumped out at me was in the acquiring allies. It reminded me of the old, knowledge is power, no, knowledge is potential power. You have to put it into action. Well, having opportunities is great and having allies is great, but you need to leverage them. And that involves taking action. It also involves, you have to be aware of these things. And it's interesting that you guys teach on this, because really recently I took a look back over my business and I noticed these specific about 4 or 5 times over the last few years that this relationship turned into that massive opportunity that panned out well. Well, I looked at it closer and it came to me that I had to be aware that relationship could have just been a ship passing in the night. You had to be aware of that and then cultivate it and then take action and be persistent and endure and excel and all that. Talk a little bit about how you would recommend, both of you would recommend being aware of these opportunities that you can leverage, because having allies, they might be a mentor, they might be a colleague, but you need to recognize some things so that you can leverage them.
Well, one of the things we're building out is our Next Life Next community. And so what JJ and I both have done individually and together is making sure that we keep people around us that are where we want to go and that are going where we want to go. And so there's something easier when you surround yourself intentionally with allies, with people that are cheering for you, that want the best for you, that can hold space for you, even if they can't wake up and see your dreams. Most of our families, they tell us, or the people close, some of us, we've been blessed with some family, both of us, that all of us that cheer us on, that love us and support us. And we have some friends and family that, can't get there with us, that tell us we shouldn't, we couldn't, and we're going to fail. And every single entrepreneur, every single person, no matter where they are in their life, they've had somebody telling them that they weren't good enough, telling them that they couldn't make it, telling them that they can't do it. And it's very easy to listen to those voices until they become what we think is our own voice. And so by intentionally injecting ourselves into a community of people that are like, yes, you deserve your best life. Yes, you deserve to step into your next life. Yes, you get to release the old and embrace the new for what it is you want. No, that does not make you selfish. No, that does not make you ungrateful. Yes, that makes you a conduit for being better, being able to give better, being able to show up more, and being able to have a happier life. And yes, you deserve that. And this is what the Next Life community is about, while we learn and elevate together.
I would love to add to that because, Mike, what you asked is so profound and a tactical step on acknowledging how do you know? Like Marjah and I came together and it was one of those things that you have to train your body to see the signs. I'm
Yes.
a huge believer of faith. I'm a Christian. I'm not here to impose my beliefs on anybody else, but I always asked with the same prayer night after night is I pray for discernment, for clarity, and for direction. And you never know how your prayers are going to be answered. But
Mhm.
what I do know from a tactical perspective is that when you have a clear idea and vision, even though you don't know how, and you align every action from the moment that you wake up to the moment that you go to bed with that intention in mind, from taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, taking care of your relationships, and taking care of your thoughts, then you're going to have a little bit more clarity so that when you have a conversation like the one that Marjah and I had when she was like, "Hey, you want to write a book together?" You see that it's not just another shiny penny, but it's actually the universe or God or whatever it is that anyone believes in. For me, it's God, but it's like those are the prayers that are being answered through the people that are being sent in your direction along your path to give you the answers that you've been praying for. And in this scenario, like Marja said, this is why we're building these communities, because a lot of people don't know how to see that and don't have the discernment to understand the difference between what's a shiny penny and what is an actual mission, a purpose, a drive, and a calling. And I believe with all of my heart that that conversation that Marja and I had with it simply started with, "Hey, you want to write a book together?" turned into a discovery call that we realized, oh my gosh, we have a calling, we have a mission, we have a purpose, and we have to create this movement.
I
Yes.
love it. What you were mentioning there reminded me of I'm sure you've heard this story before of the guy, fake story, obviously, but it makes the point, which is the guy is it's raining and it's flooding and it's coming up to the top of his house and he gets up on the roof and he's like, "Dear God, please help me, save me." And here comes this helicopter going, "Hey, here's this ladder," and he's like, "No, no, 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 God's going to save me." And they move on. And here comes this boat, jump on. And he's like, "No, no, God will save me." And finally he drowns and gets to heaven. And he's like, "God, why do you save me? Because I sent a boat and a helicopter. What more do you want?" So you have to recognize and then take action. I mean, I think that's the huge thing. And one thing that I love about your book, because like I said, I literally have read it. At the end of every section, there's a implementation. Here's how to do what we just said to do. And I think that is so great. So talk a little bit more about some of those tactical approaches that you would say. Again, we don't have time for 9 hours worth of that, but what are some of those top tactical things that some of the readers will take away from the book?
Go for it,
Well,
JJ.
yeah, one of my favorite ones, I would say, for me, movement is everything. I do
Yeah.
believe that motion creates emotion. And when you are down and out and feeling like life is over, you tend to stay still. And for me, I'm a huge believer in the energy and movement of your body, not just your mind, but your body. I come from the entertainment world as a professional dancer and choreographer for years. And I realized one thing that I never saw it clear as day until I got into the personal development to the psychology world, where every time I felt like crap, I would go put music on and I would dance. But I didn't know that what I
Mm.
was actually doing is I was changing my emotional state. And
Yeah.
so for me now, I love doing emotional rant runs. And what that means is when you put on, if you need to get drive, not just motivation, because I think that motivation is useless to a degree, but when you need to get to drive, conviction, energy, power, and strength, it's as easy as putting, whether it's a podcast, an audio compilation of motivation and key things that are going to help you, or if it's just a powerful song, but you put that into your ears and you go out for a run in nature, not on a treadmill, but around you, that it's giving you different data to your brain and your psyche, but you run as hard as you can, as fast as you can, and breathe as hard as you can, and scream at the top of your lungs and let out all of your emotions through this emotional rant run that I love having my clients do. By the time that you finish, you are so exhausted. So your emotions have come out of every pore of your body. You look around and you say, "Well, I feel amazing." And now you have clarity to go in and create magic.
Yeah. I
Mm.
love that, and it reminds me of some of the techniques and teachings in your book, because it's like, oh, well, I've heard of this before, and this before, and this before, and this before, but you guys put it together in such a great system and strategy, and it's like layering things together. So what you just described with that rent run involves, and I've heard the statistic that 86% of the word emotion is motion. You take the E out of emotion, and it's motion. So you're exactly right. And when you do that rent run, you're getting the blood pumping, you're releasing endorphins. Okay, you're getting that. And then you are putting positive in by listening to either a good podcast or affirmations or music, and you're getting that in. And then you're breathing heavy. And there's a whole other world of people that'll teach you how to breathe, and somatic breathing. And Tony Robbins teaches that. I know you realize that as well. And I just reread, A Week in the Giant Within and Unlimited Power. And he talks about the breathing. What you described with that rent run, that tactic, has so many of those layers that are like, ooh, you put all those things together into one thing, and man, it amplifies.
Absolutely, it
It's one of
does.
the most amazing things, and I love because Marjah is great at this, at just letting out her emotions, aren't you, Marjah?
I am, because I understand, our emotions are not positive or negative. We've been taught that there's good emotions and bad emotions. All of the emotions are just simply indicators. And
Yeah.
so when we're feeling the unwanted emotions, it's indicators that we're moving away from our ideal. We're moving away from our highest self. We're moving away from that God direction in us. We're moving away from the best of ourselves and our dreams and our hopes and desires. When we're feeling the good, we're moving towards that, or we're living in that, and we're experiencing that. That's why when, let's say, you speak badly about someone, you also feel bad, because your highest self would never do that. And so that's why when you encourage and enlighten and help someone, you also feel good, because it's in alignment with the best of who you are. And so when we understand what our emotions really are, they're simply indicators. In the Next Life Next book, you saw, Mike, that it's all about mapping. We have maps, and we have the treasure hunt, and we have all the pictures of your X marks the spot, and all of this fun adventure and searching. And our emotions are simply a GPS saying, hey, remember when we were kids, we played, we would close our eyes in the pool, and Marco, Polo, Marco,
Yeah.
Polo, warmer, colder. And that's all our emotions are doing.
Yeah. Like pinging off, like, sonar radar, like, as it gets colder and hotter, then the direction to go. From
Yes.
what we've talked about here, and I know we're just scratching the surface, it is very apparent that this is more than a book. It's a movement. So what I would like to do is wrap up with each of you telling us, what do you hope? What is one thing you hope the readers will take away from the book Next Life Next? So Marjah, what is one thing you hope they take away, and why? And then JJ, wrap up with your one thing.
The one thing I hope our readers take away from Next Life Next is that there is a next life. And whatever is happening, wherever they are, whether they hate their life, whether they love their life, or anything in between, there's another level that they get to step into. And so that's the takeaway. There is a next life next, and you don't have to go it alone. You should not have to go it alone. And it's easier than you think.
Awesome.
I love that.
JJ.
Sorry, I gotta say this because Marjah, this is why you're my bestie, because I knew you were gonna go for that one, and we're in two different places in the world right now. But I am also a firm believer that there's always two sides to a coin. You always
Yes.
need the carrot and the stick to lead you to pleasure, and you also need the whoop in the butt to
Yes.
run away from pain. And my one takeaway that I would love all the readers to get out of this, and I'm gonna frame it strategically, is those that fail are those that choose to fail. And when you are conscious of that, no one wants to fail. No one wants to feel like they're a failure. No one wants to say that they have failed. But we forget that we have that ability to make that distinction and choose otherwise. And when you read this book, like Marjah said, you have the ability to have that next life next. And you have the ability to make the choice to fail and stay where you are. And this book is the map It has the legend, it has the keys, it has the distinction, it has the tactics, it has the resources, it has the community for someone to choose. You could stay the same, or you could go to your next life next.
Yes.
Well, all the way through the book, there are sections that after some of the teaching that says JJ's story, Marjah's story. So all the way through there, you're bringing up, been there, done that, got the T-shirt. So I know that you guys have suffered through trials and tribulations that you choose, keyword there. You chose to respond to them, not react, and you chose to be stronger for them. So I just want to thank you both for persevering through those trials and tribulations to come through, to be able to learn these lessons and bring these to the readers and put them in this book. It is spectacular. So thank you so much for doing that. How can people learn more about your movement and reach out and connect and pick up a copy of the book?
Go for it, Marjah.
Okay, so hop on to nextlifenext.com. And JJ and I are building out more and more, and the library is going to be ever expanding. It's going to be a living space for you to get more, be more, do more, connect with more people that are incredible, just like you are. And just like, and as you become on your journey, we're going to ever expand that as well. And so, yeah, hop on to nextlifenext.com. Let us know who you are, where you're from, and we'll connect with you and reach out. And also, of course, hop onto Amazon and get the book there, Next Life Next, and order your copy today. Ebook, softcover, hardcover, whatever floats your boat, it's there. Audiobook will be there shortly. And so really enjoy it, lean into it, and more importantly, read it and apply it.
And I will say this, that for those that want to get the book, I would encourage you to actually get the book, not just the audio. The audio helps, but get the book because you can actually work with it, as it's not just a book, it's a workbook. Fortunately, we were blessed to have it hit Amazon bestseller recently, and we know that it's changed our lives, and it can definitely change yours.
We've had people say that this is the first book that they've read cover to cover and are actually applying in over a decade of books that they've picked up or looked at. And and so, yeah, physically, I agree, JJ, physically having the book, seeing the full color pages, seeing the diagrams, the maps, and working through them is really important for this book.
Marjah, JJ, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure talking with you.
Thank you for having us.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.